Doug.
Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
What makes a good reader is really, I think, fundamentally anyone who is there for the ride.
Hi, this is Meg Wolitzer. Recently, I sat down with my friend, writer Michael Cunningham. Michael Cunningham is an American novelist, screenwriter, and educator. He is best known for his novel The Hours, which won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction and the Faulkner Award, and was later adapted into an Oscar-winning film and an opera. What happens when two writers get together? Well, of course, we talk about writing, specifically his story Jacked, which we featured on Selected Shorts, but we also nerd out about the semicolon. And because I'm conducting the interview, of course, Scrabble is in the mix. Michael Cunningham is charming, interesting, curious, and a great storyteller. I hope you enjoy our conversation, which we're sharing with you as a bonus podcast. Hi, Michael.
Nice to see you, yeah.
Nice to have you here. Nice to be talking to you as ever.
Right, we get so few chances.
So many things I want to talk to you about today. So your story, Jacked, is a reimagined Jack and the Beanstalk, and from your collection, A Wild Swan, which is reimagined fairy tales. Have you always been drawn to those stories?
Yes, I've always been drawn to those stories. I think they were the first stories I knew when I was a little kid. My mother would read a story to me every night, or sometimes the same story over and over and over again at my insistence. And until I got a little older and knew better, we would get to the end. They lived happily ever after, and my mother would stop reading, and I would say, "Go on." And she would say, "Well, that's the end of the story." And I was, "That can't be the end of the story. What is Snow White? Snow White doesn't even know this prince.
Right.
He was just somebody wandering through the woods, and he kissed a dead body in a glass casket. What does she think is going to happen when he takes her to the castle?" And my mother would just say, "Well, that's the end," and go downstairs and have a well-deserved cigarette and a drink.
Well, maybe that's the best description of a writer. They don't think that's the end.
Yeah. Well, and I think you might say that this collection of my own versions of the fairy tales are kind of myself as an adult trying to answer myself as a very small child and say, well, this is what happens happily ever after.
I love that. And was there a particular connection to the Jack and the Beanstalk story?
Yeah. The stories I chose were a little bit random. I love them all roughly equally, but I suppose, these things are not as conscious when you're writing as they can sound when you're talking about what you've written. I had some sense of which of the fairy tales had seemed to me as a child to end too abruptly. They're the ones I was most eager, the 12 princes who've been turned into swans, except one of them still has a swan wing because his sister didn't have time to finish the cloak of nettle. What happens to that guy?
Yeah.
In Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack climbs up the beanstalk and the giant's wife lets him in. She's, kind of, whoa, hot little dude. And he steals her husband's gold. And then after a while, he comes back and she lets him in again. What's going on in that marriage?
Right. No, it's really ripe for your kind of sensibility.
It certainly is.
That actually brings me to some larger questions. What does a writer's sensibility mean? I'm always thinking about that.
Mm.
What is your sensibility, and what do you understand that question to mean?
You know, it's a really good question, and I am not sure if I can answer it. I'm sure I have a sensibility, but I don't think of myself as having
Right.
a sensibility. I simply, write the way I write about what I want to write about.
Yeah.
It's funny you ask. I'm starting a new novel, and for the first time, I felt like I already kind of know how to write this,
Hmm.
which I guess you could interpret as me sort of sniffing my way into my own sensibility. I could see the next 2+ years. I could see where I would get stuck. I could see where I would go on. And I thought, I don't want to do that. I want to remain nervous and fearful. And so I put that away and started something that is making me appropriately nervous and fearful. So I guess you could say I finally bumped up against my own sensibility and decided I didn't want to work.
That's really interesting, because what it suggests to me is that maybe too much of an awareness is not so good for a writer. Just do the thing that you intuitively understand, and you'll make mistakes and then you'll fix them.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is true for you, but I have found, having done this for a while, that somebody may talk about a Michael Cunningham book about a certain sensibility, about certain persistent subjects and themes. And I mean, I get it when people say that, but it's kind of news to me,
Yeah. I
right? It must be the same for you.
Oh, yeah. You find yourself being compared, another writer's work being compared with yours. And what is that overlap in that Venn diagram? Like, what is it?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
the
yeah.
subject matter?
Right.
Is it sort of
Right.
sentence-wise? Like, what is it? I don't really know. I kind of don't want to know. I don't want to think about it.
No, I think it's better to not know. This is a job for people who are not the writer.
But there's also, of course, that whole idea that writers are always sort of on the shoulders of writers who, say, came before them rather than contemporaries. I mean, the Harold Bloom book, The Anxiety of Influence, was, an important book that came out in, I guess, I don't know, the 1970s. And I mean, for you, I'm thinking about it because you are using these fairy tales, but also in your previous work, like The Hours, you're using what to us and to most readers, a classic novel, Mrs. Dalloway.
Yeah. And in the case of The Hours, I didn't want, good luck with it if I did. I didn't want to try to imitate Woolf's voice.
Yeah.
But I wanted to reflect it. I have never before and never since used so many parentheticals, semicolons, and etc. So, well, back to sensibility or a certain way you have of telling a story, there's some flexibility within it. Virginia Woolf just ravished me with punctuation, and then I sort of came back from that with a more urgent need for semicolons and parentheses. But you know what I mean.
Yes, but they're falling away. I just saw an article the other day about the semicolon. I knew they were talking about the semicolon. It was something about like the punctuation mark that people aren't using or shouldn't use or something. And I got very tense when I saw what it was going to be.
I will go to battle for the semicolon. And in the punctuation wars, I will be very much with Semicolon Brigade.
Can we linger on that for a moment? This is like super nerdy now, but I love a good semicolon too. I mean, for me, it's almost, there's a way in which they can be like a rest in a piece of music. Like they're going to reflect upon what just came and restate it, but not really restate it, but also give you that pause, give you that moment for the reader, at least, if not the writer, to think and feel.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's a sort of 3/4 stop. As opposed to a comma.
Yep.
It implies a different relationship between two phrases from what a comma implies. And anyone who may be listening and is opposed to the semicolon, what you're going to do without it. What's going to take its place? What's going to give us that particular pause?
That's right. And I'm thinking now about the actors who read your story. Jim Parsons so wonderfully read your story, but all the actors who read the stories on our show and who read stories aloud anywhere. I wonder about how they manage to get that semicolonic feeling across, right? Like when they come upon punctuation or how they know how to do a line. For me, sitting alone in my room as a writer reading to myself, it's the same voice that I try to get out of. Susan could not wait. I mean, I can't bear it, but they don't have it. They take their time.
Yeah.
What makes a good reader?
What makes a good reader is really, I think, fundamentally anyone who is, how to put this, there for the ride. Anyone who wants to actually take leave of their own lives and enter a life that is not theirs.
Yeah.
And beyond that, you're free as a reader to love or not love whatever you love or don't love, but without that willingness to sort of let go. And I think, too, a good reader brings to a book a certain generosity. The way a good critic does. You are hoping that it will be good. And if it's not, you're sorry about that. That doesn't mean you're mistaken about it, at least for your own purposes. But you know what I mean.
Oh, yes. Well, when I asked the question first, I was thinking about readers reading aloud, but then I realized when you started answering that they're really kind of one and the same, because the interpretive response of the actors who read, isn't that different, really, from the way a reader reading a book takes it in?
I misunderstood the question, but yes, a good reader reading aloud.
It's the same answer, really, I think.
It's really the same answer. And part of what is so fabulous about selected shorts is the stories are being read by people who know how to read aloud. Too many writers, bless us all, are not very compelling readers. We are people who spend our days alone in a room trying our best not to disappear up our own assholes. We are not in show business.
Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu, is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Here for the Lowe's early Black Friday deals? You're right on time for some of our biggest savings. We're talking up to 50% off select major appliances, plus up to an extra 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Holiday lights going up soon? Select ladders are up to 50% off right now. Get Black Friday prices without the Black Friday crowds. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 11/19. Selection varies by location. Select locations only. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
How did you get to be such a good reader? Because I know you to be such a very good reader.
Oh, yeah, you too. Well, I want to ask you the same question. I'm just a ham. Actually, the sort of sequestrement required for writing, I mean, obviously, it's okay with me, or I wouldn't have spent so much of my life doing it, but it's difficult for me. I could never live in a little house in the woods. I would go crazy.
Yeah.
I want to go out into the big, nasty, noisy world when I'm done writing, and I want to talk to people. And I really have always loved being able to read a story to people. And I think, first and foremost, you have to just love it. And then, that's half the battle. What about you?
I remember I gave a reading. The first reading I ever gave, I was like 20 or something. And John Irving, who had been my teacher, I was his fellow at Breadloaf, teaching fellow, and my first novel hadn't come out yet, and I read from it. And I think I read it in a very tentative voice. And he came up to me afterward and he said, I loved what you read, but I think you should work on how you read it. And I guess what I've said to students is sort of like, read it like you mean it.
Read it like you mean it. Exactly. I was, as part of a sort of charity event, asked to read, along with some other people, from, let's just say, a novel that I neither liked nor respected, but it was for a good cause. And part of the problem was the writing was very sentimental and hysterical. And I just thought, okay, don't read this in a monotone, of course, but try reading it as if the feeling is almost too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And I could kind of sell it by seeming to be doing all I could not to break down while reading it. But in fact, I just thought it was horseshit.
That is a good tip.
I am an old showgirl. I'm full of tips.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm like a frustrated theater camp kid.
Yeah.
A friend just sent me something the other day. There's an adult theater camp next summer in California where you go there for a weekend and you do theater games and then you put on a show, like, obviously on book with a script. Like, I would like to go.
Can we both go?
Do you want to go?
I do.
I would absolutely love it if you went. That would be amazing. To me, that's like my dream, is doing something like that. I would really love it.
Yeah.
So I think performance is so different from what we do the rest of the time. Performance, like, we're sitting there alone. You entertain yourself with, I actually want to talk to you in a second briefly about a way that you and I mutually entertain ourselves, which is playing Scrabble. But to get out there is the opposite of what we do, right? To get out there and speak as if you mean it on a stage.
Yes. And also, no, in that I feel like writing fiction is, in a certain sense, performative, because you are trying to capture and hold a reader's attention. You are saying, by implication, if you publish a book, stop what you're doing and read this.
That's right.
Don't have lunch. Don't have sex. Don't go to your French lesson. Read this instead. I think that what's difficult for some of us writers is not so much the fact that it isn't a connection between you and, let's say, an audience or reader. It's the complete absence of connection in time and space. It's the aspect of sort of putting a note in a bottle and throwing it into the ocean. So, would we rather be Aretha or Prince delivering a song at Madison Square Garden? Hell yes. And we do what we can. I think it could be argued that we are doing our version of that because, unfortunately, the only barrier to my career as a singer is a complete absence of talent.
Well, that's why you must have been really excited when The Hours became an opera, because
I was. Yeah.
You didn't have to sing, but was it a little bit like you were?
Yeah. I was not involved at all. The two extremely talented people who wrote the opera wanted to be free of any meddling on my part, which I was more than willing to do. Or not do. But I think it would have been different if I had been at rehearsals and seen it taking shape. So really, when I went to the opening and heard it for the first time, my overriding emotion was, really? Really? It's packed the Met? When I was writing it, you may have extravagant hopes. Maybe it will sell some copies. Maybe it will win some sort of prize. I can promise you, I never, ever thought maybe it will sell out at the Metropolitan Opera.
No. Writers, when we're sitting there writing, it's so far removed. It's from everything, isn't it? It's like, do you like to wait? Do you like delayed gratification? Be a writer. That's really what it is so much of the time.
Yeah.
But when you get a good sentence or when you know you're right, that feels so wonderful.
And I think that is certainly what keeps me going. I tend to talk about how very difficult it is because I really want people to know how difficult this was, how hard it was to just to fill this page with something that feels at least semi-real. But yeah, there are also times, not rare, but not that rare, when you feel like, yeah, I can sing in this way. And I am putting down language in a way that creates life and movement. And I am using to the very best of my ability whatever gifts I may have. And that's what you live for, right?
Absolutely. So, Michael, you and I both love the game Scrabble, and we play. To me, the language and the beauty of letters jumping around like jumping beans and moving somewhere and making other words is so glorious, is so much fun. Is it connected for you with what we do for a living?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I feel like Scrabble. And have you ever played a game called Anagrams, which uses the tiles in bananagrams?
Oh, yeah, where you put them out on the table and kind of mess them around. And then,
Yeah,
is
but
that the one?
there's a variation called Anagrams. It's a lot more fun.
I'd love to play.
And yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that makes somebody a writer, I mean, you have to have some kind of gift for it, but probably just about as important is this sort of slightly mysterious, endless fascination with how letters form words and words form sentences.
Mm-hmm.
That was what really got me started. I was going to be a painter, and I was an okay painter, but I started writing, and I didn't feel especially good at it, but I was really aware right from the start that for reasons I have no clue about, this particular endeavor, whether it's writing a sentence you feel good about or getting a word with an X on a Q under the triple word score, one is a sort of recreational version of the other, but I think they're very much part of the same picture.
Me too. Letters and words. It's like a paragraph is a concentrate of a whole chapter, and a chapter is a concentrate of a whole novel. Yeah. And a novel, I guess, to go back to this, is maybe a concentrate of a sensibility or the way you are in the world.
Yeah. I want to stay with the Scrabble analogy for one more
moment, please.
Well, I think another thing that's so interesting and compelling about Scrabble, certainly for a writer, is, as far as I can tell, writing is the art form that is most entirely based on arranging and rearranging existing elements.
Yes.
It's not like painting. It's not like dance.
That's
you
right.
can arrange them in an endless variety of ways, but you are still working with something finite, and it's all about how you put them together and not at all about how you put paint onto a canvas or how you choreograph a dance to a Strauss piece.
Absolutely. That's a great way to think of it, and I will continue to do so. Well, Michael, we've covered a lot of ground here. I'm so happy to talk to you today and have other people listen, and I look forward to talking to you when they're not, and playing more games and learning anagrams and reading your next novel and everything that awaits.
I'll be back in September. Let's have an anagrams date ASAP.
It's a date. I love it. Thank you so much, Michael Cunningham.
Pleasure. It's great talking to you.
That was Michael Cunningham. Our podcast today was edited and mixed by Joe Pleward.
If there's one thing more important than the game, it's the snacks. That's why Gorton's Seafood is bringing the ultimate crunch to game day. Try seafood sliders with our crispy fish fillets, or pair our popcorn shrimp with a sauce lineup for an appetizer every fan will love. Whether you're a sports superfan or just here for the snacks, Gorton's has the crunch to keep any crowd satisfied for game day. Visit Gortons.com for game day recipes.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/special offer. Terms apply.